Hello. Okay, in this presentation, you're going to hear former President Bill Clinton talk about a comment made by the felon. And I'll start this video off by saying the Constitution is drastically outdated. It allows the lowest of the low to be elected president of the United States. It desperately needs to be amended. We currently have a person that is not mentally balanced or have the character to be living in the White House. Please watch this video of President Bill Clinton's comments concerning the felon's statement on Rob Reiners' murder.
Now look, I've been watching politics long enough to know when something breaks differently than usual. Monday morning, around 11 a.m. Eastern, President Trump posted his statement about Rob Reiner's death. And here's what I noticed. There was this silence. Not the usual explosion of hot takes and cable news panels spinning up within minutes. No, there was a pause. I saw it in the chyrons. They'd flash Trump's words, then cut away. Producers didn't know what to do with it. Spokespeople who normally defend everything went quiet. Even the usual partisan warriors on Twitter seemed to hesitate before hitting send. And we'll come back to that hesitation because it tells you something. See, by Monday morning, everyone knew the basic facts. Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle had been found dead Sunday afternoon. Their son had been arrested. There was a homicide investigation. A family was in pieces. And then the President of the United States posted that Rob had died due to the anger he caused others because of his Trump derangement syndrome. He called it an affliction. He mocked a murdered man less than 24 hours after his body was discovered. That silence I mentioned, that was people, even people who defend Trump, reflexively realizing they were looking at something different, something that didn't have a spin. That pause told me more than any statement could have. Because when even your allies don't know how to defend you, you've crossed a line most people didn't know existed. Here's what people don't see from the outside, how things move in Washington when the usual battle lines start to crack. By Monday afternoon, my phone was lighting up with people I know on both sides, and they weren't calling to spin or defend. They were calling because they were genuinely rattled. One former Republican staffer told me, "I don't know what to do with this one. That's not normal." Then Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's had her battles with Trump but still carries his base, posted that this was a family tragedy, not about politics or political enemies. Now, Marjorie breaking with Trump publicly tells you something shifted. She wasn't making a liberal argument, she was making a human one. Inside the White House, according to people I trust, there was no effort to walk anything back, no clarification. No, the president was misunderstood. Just silence from the top, and junior staffers left to field questions they couldn't answer. And we'll come back to that absence of leadership. Meanwhile, Hollywood wasn't just grieving, they were furious. These weren't political activists. These were Rob's friends, his collaborators, people who'd known him for 50 years. They were planning his funeral while the president was turning his murder into a culture war trophy. The Reiner children, who just lost both parents and watched their brother arrested, had to see Trump's words everywhere. Every news site, every social media feed. Their private nightmare became a public spectacle. What changed beneath the surface was this. The normal partisan reflexes didn't kick in. Too many people quietly knew this was wrong. Let me tell you something about how words from the Oval Office land in people's lives, because this isn't abstract. The Reiner children, and I won't use their names because they deserve privacy, were trying to make funeral arrangements. They were dealing with police, with investigators, with the unimaginable reality that their brother had been arrested for their parents' murders. And every time they opened their phone, there was the President of the United States saying their father brought this on himself through political disagreement. You can't undo that. That's now part of their grief forever. In Hollywood, Directors and actors who'd worked with Rob for decades were posting tributes, talking about his generosity, his talent, his commitment to civil rights, and those tributes were getting drowned out by arguments over Trump's post. Their friend's legacy was being hijacked in real time. The Jewish community noticed something else. Rob Reiner was a prominent Jewish filmmaker, an outspoken voice against anti-Semitism. And here was the president mocking his death, suggesting he deserved it for his politics. That sent a message, whether intended or
Now, the only person that deserves something like that for their politics is the felon.
not. Mental health advocates saw a family destroyed by addiction and violence being reduced to a political punchline. The real story about Nick Reiner's long struggle, about a father who tried to help his son, got buried under TDS jokes. And here's what surprised me. I heard from Trump voters, regular people, who called this wrong. Not Democrats, his own supporters. One told me, I didn't vote for this. That's when you know something fundamental broke. This is where things start to get complicated, because leadership isn't just about what you do, it's about what you prevent from happening. Sunday afternoon, the bodies were discovered. Sunday evening, the news broke nationally. By Sunday night, every senior advisor in the White House knew this story. They had hours before the president posted anything. Nobody stopped him, or nobody could. And that tells you everything about how that White House operates. Now look, I've been there. When you're president, you've got people whose job is to say, Mr. President, maybe we should think about this differently. Not to control you.
But no, the idiot is not going to take logical advice. That's just the way he is.
But to show you consequences you might not see in the moment. Somebody should have said, Sir, their son just got arrested. The family is grieving. This isn't the time. That conversation either didn't happen or it didn't matter. Then the post goes up Monday morning. And where was Republican congressional leadership? Mitch McConnell, who built a career on calculated political moves, silent. Kevin McCarthy's successor, nothing. Senate Republicans who privately told reporters they were uncomfortable, no public statement. They made a choice. They decided their political futures mattered more than saying, this is wrong. The White House press office had all day Monday to clarify, to add context, to express condolences to the family.
And this is another example of what I've said in previous videos, where Republicans will oftentimes just rather bury their head in the sand and not oppose the idiot felon, even though they see things wrong happening.
They didn't. By Tuesday, they moved on to other topics like nothing happened. Here's what I learned the hard way. When you're in power, silence isn't neutral. Silence is a choice. And their silence told the Reiner family, told the country, that this was acceptable. It wasn't. There's a moment in every crisis where the path forward gets locked in. This was it. President Trump didn't fire off that post in the heat of the moment. This wasn't a 3 a.m. reaction tweet. The murders happened Sunday afternoon. He posted Monday morning nearly 20 hours later. He had time to think, time to consult, time to choose differently. And here's what he chose. Not just to stay silent, not just to offer bland condolences, but to actively mock a murdered man. To say Rob Reiner died due to the anger he caused others through his political views. To frame a family homicide as vindication of his own presidency's greatness. Read that again. A man and his wife were stabbed to death in their home, and the president's response was to celebrate his own achievements and blame the victim for having Trump derangement syndrome. That's not impulsive. That's calculated cruelty. Now,
And that's being an asshole.
said things I regret every president has, But there's a difference between a mistake and a choice to dehumanize someone who can't respond because they're dead. This was the latter. The post wasn't just offensive, it was strategic. It sent a message to Trump's base. Our political enemies deserve what they get. It sent a message to critics. Speak against me and I'll dance on your grave. It sent a message to the Reiner family. Your grief is less important than my grievance. Once those words went public, there was no walking them back. You can't unmock a murder victim. You can't restore dignity. You deliberately stripped away. That moment sealed everything that followed. Here's the thing about certain kinds of damage once it's done. There's no repair mechanism, no apology that works, no explanation that satisfies. Some lines, once you cross them, you can't walk back across. Trump could have deleted the post. He didn't. He could have issued a clarification. He didn't. He could have called the Reiner family privately to express condolences. As far as we know, he didn't. Instead, he let it stand, and his team moved on to the next news cycle like this was just another Tuesday. That choice made recovery impossible because now it's permanent record. When historians write about this presidency, when the Reiner children tell their own children what happened, when Rob's films get discussed in the future, this will be attached to it, presidential mockery of a murder victim. That doesn't fade. For Democrats, this confirmed their deepest fears about what Trump represents. You can't tell them give him a chance or he's not that bad when he's celebrating a political opponent's death. That trust is gone. For Republicans who stayed silent, they lost something too. The next time they want to criticize a Democrat's tone, the next time they claim to care about civility or decency, this will come up. Their silence had a cost. For the country, we normalized something we can't unnormalize. The president mocked a murdered man and nothing happened. No consequence, no accountability, just the news cycle moving forward. When there's no cost for cruelty, cruelty becomes currency. And that's how democracies start to hollow out from the inside. Let me tell you what this moment teaches us about power, because I've thought about this a lot over the years. When you're president of the United States, your words carry weight that's hard to comprehend until you've sat in that chair. You're not just a citizen with opinions anymore. You represent 330 million people. You speak for the country. And whether you like it or not, you set the tone for how we treat each other. That power comes with a responsibility to recognize that your political opponents are still human beings, still citizens, still Americans who love their country, even if they disagree with you about how to lead it. I worked with Republicans who despise my policies. Newt Gingrich impeached me, but I never questioned their humanity, and they never questioned mine. When Bob Dole fell off a stage during the '96 campaign, I called him immediately. Not because it helped me politically, it didn't, because it was the right thing to do. What Trump's post reveals is a fundamentally different view of power. In his framework, political opponents aren't fellow citizens, they're enemies. And when enemies die, even violently, even murdered by their own son, that's an opportunity to score points, to mock them, to suggest they deserved it. That's not leadership, that's domination. And here's what terrifies me. When the president models that behavior, it gives permission. It tells his supporters that dehumanizing political opponents is acceptable, that cruelty is strength, that empathy is weakness. Power without empathy isn't strength, it's just force. And force without conscience destroys everything it touches, including democracy itself. So where does that leave us? Because this isn't just about one post or one tragedy. It's about what we're willing to accept as normal. I've watched a lot of things change in American politics over my lifetime. The volume's gotten louder. The partisanship's gotten meaner, but there used to be a floor, a basic level of decency we didn't go below. And I'm watching that floor disappear in real time. Now look, I'm not naive. I know people will say, Clinton, you're being too sensitive. It's just Trump being Trump. And that's exactly the problem. When did we decide that just being Trump includes mocking murder victims? When did cruelty become something we shrug at? Here's what I learned in 8 years as president. Democracy isn't a machine that runs itself. It's a set of habits, norms, and shared commitments that only survive if we defend them. Every generation has to choose whether to maintain them or let them erode. This moment is a test. Not for Trump, he's shown us who he is. A test for the rest of us. Do we say this is wrong? Clearly and consistently. Do we demand better from our leaders, regardless of party? Do we remember that the Reiner family is still grieving, still human, still deserving of dignity? Or do we just scroll past, let it get buried under the next outrage, accept that this is how things are now? Because if we choose the latter, we're not just losing political fights, we're losing something deeper, the idea that we're all in this together, that power requires responsibility, that our fellow citizens aren't our enemies. That's the choice, and it's ours to make.
It doesn't matter what political party you belong to, but mocking somebody's death like this, that's just downright low down. And this idiot that you're looking at right now, he's the lowest of the low. The Constitution is desperately needs to be updated because it allows a low down criminal to be president of the United States. And the people that voted for him need to raise their standards. The standards in the United States are slowly degrading. And this idiot is proof of that. Thank you for watching. One note, in the comments section, there's a link to a video that demonstrates how you can find technology that cures early stage prostate cancer without surgery, hospital stay, or harmful side effects. That technology is a cyberknife, and it cured me in 2007 as I stopped by for treatments on my way to work over a 5-day period. And by following the steps I demonstrate in that video, you can find a facility closest to you anywhere in the country. Again, thank you for watching.